Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajigacharya Asto Tarasati Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Sri Vrindavan Kam ki Sri Mahapur Navadvip Dham ki Sri Purushottam Kshetra ki Sri Ganga Mai ki Jai, Sri Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Maharani ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtana ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Sri Sri Guru and Kalanga. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishwadaya. Get a new one, I told you. It's not, it's broken. There's this reluctance to spend money on things that are broken. But if it doesn't work, what's the point? It's only $20, $30 for a microphone stand. Huh? So tell Arjun, I've already told you, I don't know how many, I've told you months, I reckon. Replace this broken stuff. Krishna's not a poor man. Now what do we got? Go away, take that away. That's ridiculous too. It's not going to work. It's just not fit for purpose. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8. Canto 8 is Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creation. Chapter 5, the demigods appeal to the Lord. Text number 25. Tatra drishta svarupaya Shruta purvaya vai Prabhu Stutim abruta daivibhir Girbhishtva hitendriya Tata drishta svarupaya Shruta purvaya vai Prabhu Stutima bruta daivibhir Girbhistvava hitendriya Tatra drishta svarupaya Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriyaha. Tatra Drishta Svarupaya. Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriya. Tatra Drishta Svarupaya. Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriya. Tatra Drishta Svarupaya. Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriya. Ladies? Tatra Drishta Svarupaya. Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriya. Drishta Svarupaya. Shruta Purvaya Vai Prabhu. Stutim Abruta Daivibhya. Girbhistvava Hitendriya. Tatra, there, at the Lord's abode, known as Shweta-dvīpa, Adrishta Svarupaya, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was not seen even by Lord Brahma, Shruta Purvaya, but who was heard about from the Vedas. Vai, indeed, Prabhu, Lord Brahma, Stutim, prayers derived from Vedic literature, Abruta, performed, Daivibhi, by prayers mentioned in the Vedic literature, or offered by persons strictly following Vedic principles, Girpi, by such sound vibrations or songs, Tu, then, Avahuta Indriyaha, fixed in mind, without deviation. There, at Shweta-dvīpa, Lord Brahma offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he had never seen the Supreme Lord. Simply because Lord Brahma had heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Vedic literature, with a fixed mind, he offered the Lord prayers as written or approved by Vedic literature. Purport: it is said that when Brahma and the other demigods go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Shweta-dvīpa, they cannot directly see him, but their prayers are heard by the Lord, and the needful action is taken. This we have seen in many instances. The word Shruta Purvaya is significant. We get experience by directly seeing or by hearing. If it is not possible to see someone directly, we can hear about him from authentic sources. Sometimes people ask whether we can show them God. This is ludicrous. It is not necessary for one to see God before he can accept God. Our sensory perception is always incomplete. Therefore, even if we see God, we may not be able to understand him. When Krishna was on earth, many people saw him but could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Avajananti mammudha manushim tanam asritam. Even though the rascals and fools saw Krishna personally, they could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even upon seeing God personally, one who is unfortunate cannot understand him. Therefore, we have to hear about God, Krishna, from the authentic Vedic literature and from persons who understand the Vedic version properly. Even though Brahma had not seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before, he was confident that the Lord was there in Svetadvip. Thus, he took the opportunity to go there and offer prayers to the Lord. These prayers were not ordinary concocted prayers. Prayers must be approved by Vedic literature, as indicated in this verse by the words Daivib Hare Girbhi. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we do not allow any song that has not been approved or sung by bona fide devotees. We cannot allow cinema songs to be sung in the temple. We generally sing 2 songs. How many? 2. That's a lot, isn't it? One is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta. This is bona fide. It is always mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is accepted by the Acharyas. The other, of course, is the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We may also sing the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and Lochan Das Thakur. But these 2 songs, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, are sufficient to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although we cannot see him, seeing the Lord is not as important as appreciating him from the authentic literature or the authentic statements of authorized persons. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmaye Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mahiyam Tadate Svapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Garim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. So, the first words that Prabhupada extracts from the verse is Shruta Purvaya. which in the word for word means but who was heard about from the Vedas. So Shruta means to hear, right? Purvaya. What does that mean? Purvaya. Before. Okay, so Prabhupada says the word Shruta Purvaya is significant. We get experience by directly seeing or by hearing. And so this is very interesting. The demigods have gone to Svetadweep to petition the Lord, but they don't see him. Yet they have faith, Shraddha, right? And based on this principle of hearing. Right? You know, there's that saying, seeing is believing. Right? But not really. Right? Hearing is believing, according to the Vedic version. More important, it is not possible for us to appreciate and observe the activities on the spiritual plane. It's transcendental to the material plane. And the senses are effectively on the material plane, on the material platform. So what can we see with our eyes effectively? Only that which is before us. Anything which is a significant distance away, you cannot see it. Right? And the spiritual, the Vaikuntha planets are way, way, way beyond the material sphere. So not possible to be observed by vision alone. Right? Not possible. You know, even the eyes, you know, they say seeing is believing, but, you know, as you get older, your eyesight deteriorates to the point where you can't see anything. Right? I can't see detail easily. I can see everybody here, but you know, to really pick up details not so easy for me now. And only, you know, it's only apparent in certain situations. When I was flying back from the Gold Coast the other day, there was an Indian flight attendant. At least I thought she was Indian. She looked Indian. I was trying to work out what nationality was by checking what her name was, because that's how you can tell very often. You can tell by looking at a person's name which part of India they're from. Right? I couldn't even read it because she was moving around, and I couldn't read her name tag. I thought, oh gosh. So anyway, seeing is not believing, because sometimes you can't even see what's right in front of you. Right? It's illusory. Material energy is illusory. So what it presents is not necessarily what it is. And especially from the spiritual platform, you can't use material senses to observe the spiritual. It's not possible. You can get some indications or some hints, but if you were to do a dissection of the human body, right, to look for the soul, you wouldn't find it. We only know its presence due to the symptoms of consciousness and life, of action. So we know that there's the presence of, and we know when the soul is gone, because all we've got is dead matter, right? We've just got a body, but no life, no consciousness. So we can tell the difference between a living body and a dead body, but we can't see we see the symptoms, but we can't actually observe the spiritual element, the soul, that makes the body go. Right? The physical features are all there. There's like a stillborn child. All of the physical features are there, but no life. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't bring a dead body back to life. Not possible. So we can tell the difference between spiritual and material by the observance of the symptoms, but not possible to see, to observe. So this word, Shruta Purvaya, Prabhupada says, is significant because even though hearing is a material sense still, right, it has the capacity to deliver, the speaking of the tongue and the hearing of the ear has the capacity to transfer information about places that are way, way beyond our experience. Right? And this is a time-honoured tradition. It's why the sages at Naimisharanya came to hear the recitation of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It's why the yogis and siddhas and paramahamsas and others came to hear Sukadeva Goswami speak the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, right? Honouring this tradition that information, experience can be had of places far beyond our immediate observation by the hearing process. So even though the hearing is performed by material mechanics, in one sense, right? The information that's contained within is beyond the material realm. Very powerful. And information or spiritual experience can be engaged in and experienced through this hearing and chanting. That's the beginning of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam. And from Shravanam, Kirtanam comes Vishnu Smaranam, the remembrance and the experience of the spiritual realm, or the realms beyond our current experience. It transports us by hearing about transcendental topics, by hearing the sound vibration of the Mahamantra and the Panchatattva Mahamantra. We can be transported from the mundane realm to the spiritual realm, simply through the recitation of transcendental sound vibration. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Why Lord Chaitanya appeared? Why did Lord Chaitanya appear? He's the Yuga avatar for, and the external reason, one of the external reasons for his appearance was to propagate the Sankirtan movement, right? And what's the Sankirtan movement's primary function? Hands up if you know what Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission's primary function is. Please raise your hands if you know. Okay, we've only got 3. This is a bit of a worry. Hands up if you're too lazy to put your hands up. Okay, rightio. Okay, who had their hands up? Gopa. Chant Hare Krishna, yeah. What is it? Krishnavanam, Tvisha Krishnam, Sango Sangastra Pashadam, Jagyai Sankitan, Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. Right? Those who are sumeda, little bit of intelligence, will take up this process because they understand or they experience the potency of hearing. Right? Very powerful. So there's the hearing of our philosophy, specifically the Bhagavatam. This is our method of conquering material existence. It's described in the Bhagavatam. This is our method for conquering material existence, is to hear the philosophy of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And that's predicated by the Bhagavad Gita. And the basic principle, you're not the body, you're a spirit soul. Right? And by the practice of yoga, in our case bhakti yoga, that's chanting Hare Krishna, one can directly realize, what is it? 9.1. Third phrase. What's that? Directly perceived. What is it? Yes. But you have to say it again loudly so I can hear it. Yes, directly perceived. Susukam katam avyayam. Right? It is the perfection of religion because it gives direct perception of the self. Huh? And we feel that when we chant Hare Krishna. We feel that when we experience it when we hear the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We experience it when we chant Hare Krishna. So, even though we are not able to see the spiritual world, or we're not able to see Krishna directly, just like the demigods, they've gone to Svetadweep, they don't actually see the Lord. Right? But they have strong faith and they experience the presence of the Lord through the authorized processes. And the authorized process, especially, we do this every day. Right? Hear the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Right? And as a consequence of regularly hearing the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and also chanting Hare Krishna, and then as a consequence be inspired to perform devotional service, we get a tangible, describable experience of the spiritual world. And I mentioned this many times. People come to the temple and they say, there's something special about this place. Right? Well, that's what it is. It's the taste of bhakti. Right? It's why the devotees keep on coming back to do service. Because there's an experience. It's a living experience. It's not something fossilized or stale. But there's actually something that can be experienced and described, articulated. Right? So the demigods are feeling that. Those with a material vision might say, what are they going to Svetadweep for? They don't even get to see the Lord. What's the point of doing that? Right? But the Lord reciprocates with the devotees who connect with Him via the processes that He recommends or encourages. He reciprocates. Tadami buddhi yogam tam, jena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly engaged in devotional service, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. Then in the next verse, Tesham evanukampata mahamma jnana jam tamaha. I destroy the darkness of ignorance with the deeper, the torch or the light of transcendental knowledge. Right? So, even though the demigods don't see Lord Brahma, they still have an experience of his presence. which sometimes simply comes in the form of inspiration, right? So we see, when the devotees, when we have a full morning program, then we walk out of the temple room feeling enthused and enlightened, not burdened by the darkness of material existence. And if we become deeply absorbed in material existence, then it's dark. Right? People become so thoroughly depressed and discouraged by their engagement with the material energy, they want to kill themselves. It's so painful. Of course, that's ignorance. There is no destruction of the soul. So, this hearing is the basis of what we do effectively. And Prabhupada makes a point here that even when people could see Krishna, they could see him, he was personally present and right before them, so tangible from the point of view of being able to see him, but they still didn't understand who he was. Avajananti mammudha. What is it? Manushim tanumasritaha. Even though the rascals and fools saw Krishna personally, they could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like materialistic people can come before the deity and they just see the material form. Whereas a devotee comes before the deity and they see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he reciprocates. They render service to Krishna, he reciprocates with them. Gives transcendental knowledge, transcendental understanding. So, seeing is not believing. Right? Seeing is misleading very often. There's that saying, I couldn't believe my eyes. Oh, well, that's good. And so therefore Prabhupada says here, therefore we have to hear about God. That's the potency of regularly associating with the devotees and regularly hearing the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, right? Hiya bhadrani vidunoti surit satam, gets rid of the abhadra, the inauspicious, and opens up our eyes to the spiritual realm, to the real possibilities of material existence. In other words, the real possibilities of material existence is actually to leave the material world and enter into the spiritual realm. And why Prabhupada famously said, at least for us famously said, this is not Melbourne, this is Vrindavan. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, in that chapter, Prabhupada says the devotees know that they're in the spiritual world when they're rendering service to the deity in the temple. So we're not actually living in the material world. It looks like 197 Dank Street, but actually with the presence of Radha Ballabha and the Lord Trivikram and our Shalagram, we're very fortunate to have the dedicated pujaris who do the worship of the deities, especially the Shalagram Puja every day. Our unsung heroes, especially in Melbourne at this time of the year. What's it like worshipping the Shalagram? Do you do it? What day do you do it, Gopa? Tuesday. What's it like? What was Tuesday like last week? Cold. Yeah. We're in bed relishing the warmth of our ignorance. And those who are advanced, they perform austerities for the pleasure of Krishna. And derive, satisfaction from that. Pleasure and happiness from that engagement in devotional service. And that's in part the core of what we do, the worship of the deity and the service to Krishna. And the impetus for doing that is what we've heard. Right? Although we can see Krishna, but because of that hearing and because of the purification of consciousness, we don't see metal or stone or wood. Right? We see Krishna in his merciful form of the Archa Vigraha. The unlimited form. The unlimited form means Krishna can appear in as many forms as he likes. Right? So he appears in Melbourne, he appears in Sydney, he appears in Canberra, he appears in Brisbane. Right? He's unlimited. Another unlimited feature is that he is able to perform the function of one sense with any one of the others. Right? This is unlimited. This is the meaning of unlimited. He's able to procreate, which is usually performed by the progenitive organs, right? But he doesn't. When Lord Vishnu reawakens all of the living entities within the material creation, he doesn't use his procreative organ to do that. He uses his eyes, right? And doesn't actually touch the material energy. He remains transcendental. But through that glance on the in the Brahma Samhita, the regulatrix, that's the material energy. She regulates us all, right? But the Lord impregnates the material energy by his glance. So the act of procreation is performed by his seeing, right? So very powerful person. In that every one of all of the functions of the Lord are interchangeable through each one of the different limbs. He sees everything also. Right? Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. So, how do we know that? We know that by regularly hearing and by the inspiration of hearing, we engage in service. Even though we may not be able to see the Lord directly or personally. But actually the devotees feel like they do. They do feel that personal connection. So therefore the demigods are confident going to Svetadweep, even though they can't see the Lord. They follow this process of Shruta Purvaya, hearing, and as a consequence their relationship and their engagement with the Lord is tangible for them, is experienced for them, is not a mystery, but it's a keenly and deeply felt experience. Why the devotee remains steady and fixed is because their experience of bhakti is tangible, is relishable, desirable, and satisfying. What is it? Matschita matkata prana badayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. Right? Devotees like to hear and chant about Krishna, and what do they get from that? Tushti. Right? Tushti means satisfaction or nourishment, I think. And pleasure, ramanti. Rama means the giver of pleasure. Right? So, even though, Prabhupada says, even though Brahma had not seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before. This must have been before the Brahma Samhita was recited, otherwise it says he wasn't seen before. He was confident that the Lord was there in Swetadweep. Thus he took the opportunity to go there and offer prayers. And then Prabhupada talks about prayers. Don't concoct. Right? Don't concoct. And Prabhupada says here, regarding prayers, we generally sing 2 songs. You know, devotees wonder why sometimes I hear there's different mantras being chanted and I say, stop, chant Hare Krishna. Well, here's why. There is all spiritual experience and realization contained in these 2 mantras. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta. And we only do that a little bit, but mostly we chant Hare Krishna. The other, of course, is the Maha Mantra. And of course, Prabhupada says we can also chant the songs of Narottam Das, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Lochan Das, and others, right? But these 2 songs, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, are sufficient to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although we cannot see Him. Right? So, confirmed. Now, here's an interesting statement, last statement. Seeing the Lord is not as important as appreciating Him from the authentic literature or the authentic statements of authorized persons. So that Prabhupada, at the end of the purport, confirms the potency of hearing from the right sources, right? Why we hear the Bhagavatam, why the sages came to the forest of Naimisharanya, why they came to the hearing of Maharaj Parikshit, of Sukadeva Goswami, because through that hearing process we can conquer the material energy. Right? Hearing the Bhagavatam, and you know, philosophical understanding is important, but that philosophical understanding has its substrata in the chanting of Hare Krishna. This is our process. This is our jagya, it's our sacrifice, but it's our process of self-realization in this age. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiya anyata. No other way, no other way, no other way. The holy name, the holy name, the holy name. Right? So that's pretty amazing. And a test of faith in one sense, because it's all we need to do. And of course, chanting Hare Krishna, in one sense we say it's easy. And it is easy, right? 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. Easy, you might say, right? But not so easy. Right? Because through the chanting of Hare Krishna, our heart is revealed. And it can be a dark place. Unless we listen to the mantra and absorb ourselves in the chanting of the mantra without offense, without distraction, then we can connect to that. It's a direct connection to the spiritual substrata, the spiritual foundation, the spiritual basis of our existence. Very powerful. Very simple, and in its simplicity lies the difficulty, if you like, the challenge. The challenge. But that's it, that's all that's required. And the example given is Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family. So, an outcast, a disqualified person, right? Not a part of Vedic culture, as are most people in this day and age, right? Yeah, what was Haridas Thakur's perfection? What did he do? Chanted Hare Krishna, right? So much so that when Maya Devi herself came and petitioned him, Prabhupada, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, she posed herself in such a way that would bewilder the most intelligent man. Right? Most attractive in the most provocative form, and yet Haridas Thakur, what did Haridas Thakur say when she petitioned him? You're such a handsome young man. What young lady wouldn't be attracted to you? I seek your company. I want to have union with you. And what did Haridas Thakur say? Yeah, okay, but I've taken a vow to chant 300,000 names a day. When I finish my japa, then I can do what I like. But for now, I've got to keep chanting. Right? And Haridas Thakur did this also to the prostitute. that was paid by Ramchandra Khan to have Haridas fall down. Right? So it's interesting. Haridas Thakur, as an example, is compared to Lord Shiva, right? And Lord Shiva is most accomplished, if not the most accomplished yogi, right? And renunciate. Yet Lord Shiva was attracted to, and even we might say bewildered by, Parvati's petition and her devotion, because she was very devoted to Lord Shiva, right? So Haridas Thakur is compared with Lord Shiva, and Haridas Thakur is given, Prabhupada gives this example, is a higher devotee because even though he was petitioned by Maya herself, he was able to experience the higher taste of chanting Hare Krishna and not be bewildered by Maya Devi. So 3 days she came to petition Haridas Thakur, and each time he said, yes, I will surely fulfill your desire, but I just need to finish my rounds. The Maya Devi at the end of 3 days said, I've noticed, I've been with you here every night for the last 3 days, and you never finish chanting. You'll never be finished. And of course she then surrendered herself, as did the prostitute, and became Haridas Thakur's disciple. And what did Haridas Thakur say? Stay here, live in this place, and chant Hare Krishna. Right? So Haridas Thakur, even though he's from a family of malechas, right, outcasts, the most fallen as a Muslim by external presentation, Internally, he's the emblem of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. Huh? And very interesting. Who were the two people responsible for bringing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Navadvip? Who petitioned him to come? Advaita-Acharya and Haridas Thakur. Because Haridas Thakur and Advaita-Acharya were friends. Right? Advaita-Acharya, after the liberation of the prostitute, Haridas Thakur went to Shantipur and lived with Advaita-Acharya. Or Advaita-Acharya created a cave like kutir for Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur said to Advaita-Acharya, "You'll bring disrepute to yourself if you give me so much honour and respect." Right? Because I'm such a fool, I'm not qualified. And Advaita-Acharya said, "No, I will pursue my religious principles by following the Shastra strictly. Right? And because you are such an exalted, even though born in a fallen condition, you're the most exalted because you're the Namacharya. Right? You're the Namacharya. You're demonstrating the potency. And not only that, not only are you demonstrating, but you're preaching. You're giving the holy name to others. Right? Which is super important for us. And this principle here. No concocted prayers, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Hare Krishna, and give it to others. Right? This is our process. The external is to establish the Sankirtan movement. The internal is to establish our relationship with Krishna. Right? That's the internal development. And this is all done on the practice and the activity of chanting. Pretty amazing when you think about it. And we're fallen. Or, speaking for myself anyway. We come from not particularly pious backgrounds, but got the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. And so taken out of ignorance into the realm of Dibya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. And that transcendental knowledge is in part hearing from the scripture, but you could say almost more importantly, but not more importantly, they go together. Got to be the balance. The chanting of Hare Krishna. Right? And giving it to others. Not that we keep it for ourselves. In fact, if we don't give it to others, it'll run away anyway. It'll go away. Very interesting. If we don't distribute Krishna consciousness to others, our own Krishna consciousness will be diluted. Because we're not putting it into practice and we're not following the order of our spiritual master, in fact, right? Gurur avagya is the third offense in chanting, right? So if we're not preaching, we'll have problems. If we don't chant Hare Krishna, guaranteed you'll have problems. Not hearing the Bhagavatam, not regularly reciting the Vedic literature. What is it? Svadhyaya, isn't it? Study of the Shastra, super important. So, in yesterday's verse, there's the word Arindama, the destroyer of enemies. And Dhamma means control, which is a symptom of a Brahmana. Samo Dhammastapa Socham. Dhamma, sense control, but also mind control. And we achieve that through this Shravanam Kirtanam process. That's our yoga. You know, the yogis do asanas and breathing and to control the mind. We control the mind by chanting Hare Krishna, by hearing. And that's it. That's all we need to do. It's kind of like, is that it? Well, yes, that's it. Not very difficult. In one sense, not difficult, right? But try doing it. Try doing it. Ooh, why is it so hard? It requires, and the beauty of the Maha Mantra and hearing regularly is that it exposes our attachments to material things. And we need to develop that taste. We need to get the high taste. That's Haridas Thakur. He was so absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna, so that even though the material energy came and presented herself, he was able to transcend, not be attracted, because he was so deeply absorbed in chanting. Amazing. But he's our example, Namacharya. Right? So, it's super important, this, as Prabhupada says here, what is it? Sruta Purvaya, hearing, as is evidenced by here, the demigods going to see the Lord in Swetatweep, and we see that in the beginning of the 10th canto, similar pastime. There's difficulties for the devotees, so what do? They naturally go to the Lord and petition Him. Please protect us. Right? And of course this is the Lord's mission. Pranitranaya sadhunam. Right? And vinasaya chaduskritam. So this is how we build our own devotional life and uncover the devotee, is by regularly by chanting or hearing and chanting. And simple. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Pretty easy, but not easy at the same time. So therefore, what does it require? Constant endeavour. Right, Lord Brahma says at the end of the Brahmas, actually it's Krishna states at the end of the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita, he explains to Brahma what's required to make progress. Theistic conduct, right, according to the principles of Shastra, and constant endeavour. Has to be done constantly. And in that, every day, you know, it's almost impossible for us to just sit down and chant Hare Krishna like Haridas Thakur. Right? 300,000 names is, I calculated, that's about 190 rounds, something like that. A lot of rounds, right? Who's going to do that? Hands up, anybody who's even done that. There's been a few days in my life where I've chanted 64 rounds. I tell you, the last 4 rounds were pretty ragged. There are a few possibly good rounds that I might have listened to, if I was lucky. And of course you feel immensely purified by such an activity, but such an effort. Right? And that's why Prabhupada told the devotees, chant 16 rounds, that's enough. Because any more than that, just not humanly, for most people, there may be exceptions, I grant that. For most people, 16 rounds is enough, is an effort enough. And then lots of service, lots of engagement in spiritual activities, and it's all connected to Radha Vallabha. Which is why at the end of the day we feel so happy. Happily exhausted, and we go to sleep, we'll dream of Krishna and the devotees, then wake up and we have to do it again. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions? Thoughts? Give the microphone to Radha Krishna Prabhu, we can hear from him, see what he thinks.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was thinking how important it is to hear properly and also from the right sources.
What was that last
Right
one?
source.
Right source?
Yes, not from anyone else. Yeah, especially for devotees.
Yep.
There's so many charlatans out there who profess to know the Shastra, and you have this kathas going on, 7-day katha, 14-day katha, whatever. And innocent people just think they are qualified, and then they never get to understand the goal of life also.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hear from the right source. Prabhupada talks about his Bhagavad Gita as it is, and how there are many, many Bhagavad Gitas but no devotees, and how his Bhagavad Gita makes devotees. So therefore there's the test of authenticity, is the outcome. And even Bhaktivedanta Thakur says we can measure the efficacy and the potency even of a devotee by books distributed, devotees made, temples opened, right? So, what do we say? The proof is in the pudding. What flour did you use to make the donuts on Saturday? Huh? What? It's a secret. Well, I'll tell you what, your customers knew that they weren't cooked by a Chicharupa. And they came and told us, these donuts are really hard. So the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. And the ingredients that we use. Method and ingredients got to be the best ingredients. We have very discerning customers. So, yes, and how to, because there's kind of a sentimental attachment to a Bhagavat Saptaha or some reciter. When you go to places like Vrindavan, there's these big posters, and there's all these kind of, they got big hairdos and they got red dots on their forehead and funny, fancy tilak and stuff. And I see that, and you don't want to be offensive, right? Because sadhu ninda, committing offences to sadhus is dangerous for a devotee. Yet Srila Prabhupada was very strict about who we should hear from. And even we see in Gaudiya Chaitanya Vaishnava Sangha, there's kind of a syncretism. We're all the same, it's all okay, we can all get together. And in one sense that's true, right? But in another sense, Prabhupada, there are some really strong statements from Prabhupada where he says you just should not associate with anybody else but the ISKCON devotees. So that's a bit of a challenge for us. We don't want to be offensive, we should not be offensive to others. And but I think the solution is you know, we're appreciative of and respectful to others, but we might keep a bit of a distance, and that upsets people, right? Because, you know, even your behaviour can be externally offensive. There's that story of Sanatana Goswami, or was it Rupa Goswami? Sanatana Goswami, I think, who was laughing because of his internal reverie, experiencing Krishna Leela, when there was a crippled devotee went by and he thought he was being laughed at by Sanatana Goswami, and he was upset. And then Sanatana Goswami's meditation broke because he'd unknowingly offended somebody. So very interesting. This is a very subtle science of bhakti, right? But at the same time, we have the order of our Founder-Acharya, right? So, first thing is Trinadapi Sunitjena, I suppose, you know, be humble, lower than a blade of, you know, than the straw in the street, a blade of grass, and be more tolerant than a tree. So being respectful to others and not being too self-absorbed. But again, considering Prabhupada's instructions, we do need to be careful about the source. Yeah. Nice point. Gopa.
I also want to add that Srila Prabhupada was very spiritually attuned, and his instructions were given so that we can actually improve in our spirituality. Whereas most people, although they may practice spirituality, they are socially inclined. So there's a difference you can see, yeah.
But we were also socially inclined.
In the beginning, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
You know, it's interesting. We're socially inclined because we want to preach.
Yeah.
And we go out to preach. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're social.
Yes, that's my point.
We may even be antisocial sometimes. Right? And we need to be impacting the most people we can. So therefore we need to get out. You know, the other day, I mentioned this to a few devotees, but the other day I went to the football, which I've never, it's the first time that I've been to the footy in Melbourne. Practically my whole life. Right? One of my friends, and I didn't pay for the ticket either, one of my friends took me, because their son's playing, you know, young son is playing football. So he's into the Bulldogs. So anyway, we went to the footy, and, you know, it struck me the quality of the people that go to the footy. Right? It's a long time since I've been to the footy, so I've forgotten all of this, the finer points of Australian culture. Right? But it came back at me very rapidly. And I was thinking, gosh, we've got to get through to these people. Right? But what I realised was, or one thing that I realised was that not all of these people will be devotees necessarily. And even Prabhupada says that. Not necessary that they be initiated. Like Prabhupada didn't insist George Harrison be initiated, for example. Interesting. So not everybody is going to be Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, devotee. Right? But we want them to be aware of us. Right? We want them to be aware of us. So I was thinking, if we want to connect with the most people in Victoria, right, where do we go? Where do you go? Where do they go? On a Saturday and a Sunday, where do they go? 2 places. What are those 2 places? Now, where are the 2 places? Marvel Stadium and the MCG. So we should be that's where we should do our Harinam. If we want people to know about the Hare Krishnas, that's where we should go to do Harinam every week. Downtown is nice, but this was my realisation from going to the footy. That's where we should go, do Harinam in those places. There's big plazas outside these venues, right? So you could go and stand on the corner with a dozen devotees and chant Hare Krishna, and tens of thousands of people will hear the Maha Mantra. And if you did that every week, they'd get to know, oh, the Hare Krishnas are here, right? That's all we need, in one sense. Not very difficult to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's instructions and fulfill his predictions also, right? And then out of those, because what does Krishna say? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatiti siddhaye. So out of thousands among men, only one endeavours for perfection. So amongst all of those thousands of people, there might be one who's interested, which is okay. And then even out of all of those, of which there's not very many, only one of them may understand the truth, right? But this is something that occurred to me. Get out there, chant Hare Krishna. People only need to hear the Maha Mantra. If we went and did book distribution there, we'd get busted sooner or later. Ask the book distributors. Right? So best not to be too much in people's... If we go out and chant Hare Krishna, that's in people's faces. That enough is what are you Hare Krishnas doing here? Of course, what happens is, if we do it enough and then we stop, then they'll be saying, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you chanting Hare Krishna? Right? Because they like it. It's a subtle, it's a powerful, it's not even subtle, it's purely on the spiritual platform. Huh? So, that's hearing from the right source. That's us. We're the source for the rest of everybody else, pretty much. I was thinking, we need to have a chat with Devanath. Friday night, that's good, but Saturday at the footy is even better. More people. And it's the rank and file, this is the rank and file Aussies. Right? G'day, mate. How's it going? Who's winning? The answer is nobody in the material world. But if you want to be successful, chant Hare Krishna. That's our solution. We have a solution. One size fits all solutions. Well, one solution fits all problems. Nito? You got to pass this message on to the Harinam party, okay? You're the emissary of the Harinam party.
Thank you. There's one time Jananda Maharaj and the Harinam party did Harinam outside MCG.
Yep.
Was the final.
Yep.
And that was tied.
It was a tie.
There was a tie because everybody was asking.
That was the Magpies playing.
Yeah. St Kilda Saints.
Who?
St Kilda Saints.
St Kilda. Yeah. And there's an age-old.
Because everybody was asking outside the stadium, who you rooting for, which team you support. I said, we support both the teams. It became tie. And
anyway, I think the week after, the Pies won.
Yeah. And we were not there that time. So.
Yeah. So, yeah. I always kept up with the footy because it gave me an opportunity to talk to my father. We'd have something in common to talk about. Yes, I'm sure that if we went and chanted Hare Krishna, we shouldn't just go for the final. We should go every week, I reckon. That's my thoughts on the matter. Because we want to connect with we want the most number of people to hear the chanting, isn't it? So why wouldn't you go? That's where they are. Take that back to Harinam Central, okay? Okay, Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtana ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai.